Okay, this year's WrestleMania is done, and they're already in the process of hyping for next year's Mania. The opening contest was Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. I'm going to detail the whole match. Sheamus comes out first, then Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan kisses AJ, turn around, eats the bro kick, 1, 2, 3, Sheamus is your new champion. That was the whole match. Actually, not a bad match, Daniel Bryan just turned around, ate a big boot, 1, 2, 3, Sheamus new champion. The weird thing is, from all the stupid background skits, like a guy from Deadliest Catch, Santino, and Mankind eating crab legs, they probably could have given that match more time, or had shown that triple threat tag match for the tag team belts, which was the dark match. Matching Orton and Kane was, pretty solid. You had two really good workers in this match. At any point in time, it seemed like Orton was going to take it, but then Kane, with a second rope choke slam, Orton's the second rope, and Kane hits him with a choke slam. Overall, pretty decent. Show versus Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes did a pretty good stick and move throughout most of it, but went for another beautiful disaster kick. Show kind of went to spear him, but it looks like he kind of went shoulder to hoo-ha. Because when they show it in slow motion, you see one of Cody's legs on this side and the other of Cody's legs on this side. So he kind of got crushed by his shoulder blade. And then Web Mass Destruction, your new IC champion. Big Show. All in all, pretty decent. The Divas match. Maria Menounos came out wearing white, again with the Greek flag on. And there's a time when they do a double stink face, Kelly Maria Menounos to Eve. And from that point on the posterior hemisphere close to her equator, Maria Menounos has this giant brown makeup stain on her white pants the whole time. All in all, that match was an okay match. Kelly had a Molly go around, which would be her coming off the ropes, doing like a somersault into Beth Phoenix. I would have been satisfied with that being the end of it. No, instead they pushed Beth Phoenix into Eve, and Maria Menounos gets a roll-up victory. Seeing Maria Menounos, who weighs 84 pounds, pin Beth Phoenix with a roll-up, kind of pathetic. For Team Johnny versus Team Teddy, Eve came down with Zack Ryder, so you pretty much can know how this match is going to end. Lots of finishers, lots of it being your typical 6-on-6 tag match, where it's just the match starts out pretty slow, and then all of a sudden it becomes all-out non-stop chaos until there's a finish. And the finish first came when Ryder was going for was kicking the turnbuckle to the Miz. Eve got in the ring, started cheering on with him. Referee tries to get Eve out of the way. Zack Ryder goes to check on Eve. Miz, skull crushing finale, 1, 2, 3. John Laurinaitis is your new general manager of Raw and SmackDown. As they're celebrating, he then tells CM Punk, "Oh, you get disqualified to lose your title." We're now down to 3 more matches. Yes, they're not in the exact order they were on the card. 3 more matches. Jericho and CM Punk was a really hard fight. There's a suplex off the top, off the apron to the outside. Lots of really stiff shots. The ending sequence where it was submission, counter to a pinfall, counter to a submission, counter to a pinfall, counter to a pinfall, counter back into a submission, was fantastic. That was a great way to end that match, with Punk getting Jericho to tap. Really good, solid match. Told a really great story too, with the whole, if you get disqualified, you're gonna lose your title. two more matches, the two iconic matches. I'm not putting the last three in order of how good they were. I'll put it like that. The Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Triple H. People thought this was going to be like a blood-filled match, but H did get busted up in the hard way over his eye, so he was bleeding throughout some of the match. This match showed a level of brutality you can get into in the PG era. H was hitting Taker so many times with chairs, he had this giant, sick, purple bruise across his shoulder. I mean, this match was ridiculously brutal with chair shots using the steel steps. There's a spine buster on a portion of the steel steps. Just, with Shawn Michaels occasionally stopping Triple H from doing moves that would kill The Undertaker. Multiple times he tried to bring a sledgehammer straight down on Taker's neck, and Michaels was like, no, you're going to kill him. You can't do that. For people who thought Michaels was going to detract from this, when it starts hitting the moments of just this almost over-the-top amount of emotion and psychology, and full of beautiful story. And of course, Taker hits a tombstone, the 1, 2, 3. Shawn Michaels helps up Taker, Taker and Shawn Michaels help up Triple H. They all make their way to the back. An absolutely fantastic match, and without a doubt, the match of the night when it came to level of brutality, storytelling, and psychology. This match pretty much had it all. It was actually more brutal than last year's Mania match. Still kind of on the slow side, but you'd expect that for a match. It's just big, heavy, brutal moves one after another. John Cena came out after some guy named MQK or some group named MQK did a rap, and I really could have cared less. I'll just be honest. I'm tired of people calling John Cena an underdog. He's not. He's not the underdog. He is the franchise player. He's not an underdog. Then Flo Rida did some whatever it is Flo Rida does when The Rock came down. This match was so slow. Rock is in fantastic shape, but it just, you could tell he still had some ring rust. You could tell he was sucking wind pretty fast in this match. This match, which we knew was left to the hype, was just slow. The Rock didn't seem crisp. He was selling almost everything John did. John was selling most of what The Rock did. The flow of the match was just awful. Lots of back and forth finishers. John Cena's going for the people's elbow, runs into a stutter into a rock bottom. Because Rock gets off the rock bottom, takes a couple steps, and then finally finishes the rock bottom. So The Rock kind of was a couple steps shy on the finish. 1, 2, 3, and The Rock beats John Cena. Not a bad match. Of course, I didn't discuss most of the backstage stuff because I didn't see a huge need for it. Of course, Brodus Clay was on there too. Brodus Clay came down and with his dances, and he was like, "Everyone got their cell phones. You're gonna call your mama." And they show a guy in the crowd on the phone. And I'm thinking, he's like, "Hey mom, yeah, Brodus Clay told me to call you. He's a wrestler? I don't know. He said just call my mama." And then that's then when Mama Clay and the Bridge Club comes out and they dance. Just this bizarre, super over the top, but it was, it actually kind of made sense as one of those bizarre, funny Mania moments. All in all, from people called the triple main event, the Taker H match, Punk Jericho, and Rock Cena. That's how I would put those three matches. The Rock Cena, with The Rock winning, maybe they'll do it again at SummerSlam. Maybe they'll have a rematch at WrestleMania. Who knows? All in all, it was, I wish it would have been a better match. It was a good match. But I mean, they did not seem to have as much chemistry as I would have hoped. It reminded me of, remember the first time when John Cena took on Randy Orton during like one of the first draft ones, and they just didn't seem to have their timing and chemistry right? That's what this match was. So, I guess tomorrow night we'll get to see take over Raw as well as SmackDown as the new GM You've got new champions in Sheamus and Show. Punk retained. Taker's streak is now 20-0. The Celebrity won again. And that was pretty much WrestleMania. Glad I went to a Buffalo Wild Wings and saw it, so I had to spend money for food, as opposed to having to actually paid for it at home. Because I'm telling you, that would not have been worth $60.